Jessica Hensley here with Real Estate Mega Moms, where we help moms create a life and a business that they love. And I am joined by one of our former students, Robyn Schamberger. I promised I would try to say your name correctly. I think I did pretty close. But Robyn is a former student of ours. She went through our Micro Team program last year. She's also a coach. She's also a seasoned agent. And so Robyn has well, you'll see. I'm really excited to talk to her. We're gonna dive into a few things. She has a really cool background, and we're just gonna have an interesting conversation today. So tune in, and yeah, let's go ahead and dive in, Robyn. Hey, Robyn.
Hello.
Okay, so for those who don't know you, introduce yourself. Where are you located? Who do you serve?
I am in Oregon. I live about halfway between Portland and the coast. So I'm licensed in Oregon and Washington and kind of cover the whole Portland metro area. And I also cover coastal properties in Northwest Oregon and Southwest Washington.
Okay. How long have you been licensed?
6.5 years.
Okay. And tell us, what does your business look like right now? Do you have a team? I know you went through the micro team. So what does your team structure look like right now?
Right now, it's just me. I was in 2022, so busy. I needed a team. And then the market's just been a little bit I don't feel like I have enough to offer a team at the moment. So everything's in place. And it seems like things are kind of shifting right now. And I'm ready to hire when the time is right.
Yeah. So you've been kind of diversifying your offerings, and like you were mentioning earlier, wow, it seems like everything, the floodgates are opening, right?
Yeah. I had
So
2 appointments last weekend and one this weekend, and it's all that backlog demand is finally hitting, I think.
what was the biggest takeaway that you had from going through the Micro Team course?
I have two, if that's okay.
Yeah.
I really liked going through the core values because I think even as a solo agent, we just get in our day to day and we don't really think about who we want to be in business. And it's so important individually, but then especially as you're bringing on a team, for them to know what you want them to represent and for them to be aligned with that. So that was my one. And my second one is I really got a lot out of going through and doing the SOP process. And I realized how much I was just doing on the fly, totally just I knew what I was doing, but if someone came in, they couldn't replicate what I was doing. And even now, as I'm starting to get busier, the idea of having a bunch of listings hit at the same time, having everything written down so I can just check it off the list is so helpful.
Good. Yeah. And then when you are ready, you'll have that playbook for them. So, and we have advanced a little bit since you've left. I think, when did you go through the program?
The end of 2022.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. Things are so different. So, I mean, the principles are the same, but I re-recorded the entire course, and we actually have a playbook for every position now. So every single position on the team, I have it for my team, the playbook. So you see my SOPs, my videos for training them, the scorecard that I've created for them. So all of that is completed. And then all you have to do is just edit it to fit, your little nuances of what you do. So yeah, you'll have to let me know if you want to kind of step back in for a little bit of time. And maybe it's when you actually make your hire. But anyway, so yeah, I agree. I think the SOP process is probably the biggest life changer for the team leader, because we just do it. There's just this innate talent like we just see what needs to be done and we do it. And if we had to sit down and really think about every step of the way, it's a hard process. And probably the most annoying process is the calendar audit, which is that leads to this SOP exercise. And I have a lot of people that tell me like, oh man, I'm stuck here. I'm having a hard time. But it's because you got to slow yourself down, to actually think about what are you doing. And if you don't know what you're doing, then you're not going to be able to do the same thing every time and duplicate it and scale it. So I love that. I love that. Well, you talked about before we went live that you're also a more of a like a mindset. I think you called him a transformational coach, and you've gone through. I know you've went through Maxwell. You're
I
a
did not
Max
know through
success. Okay, success with and then you do the disc profile training too.
So I've done disc profile, and which includes motivators, and then I went through emotional intelligence as well. And then I've also certified through another company called Avalon Empowerment that does a lot of kind of transformational and breakthrough work.
So it sounds to me like your passion is more of let me figure out how to help other people. I love to help other agents. So, and you mentioned, your transactions were lower last year. And I told you, like, my transactions were lower last year. We still met like minimum, probably to most people's standards. We were still probably pretty busy. We closed pretty close to 100, or maybe it was a little over 100 for my team. And I was 60 or something like that. So I was a lot less than I've been. But you said, like, if other people, or you can understand why some people might give up, or something along those lines, like, by all accounts, maybe you should have, outside looking in, somebody would have thought you would have just got out of the business or something like that, right?
Yeah. I think, life comes in cycles, and real estate definitely comes in cycles. And we all need to be prepared for that in some way. But, I've seen a lot of people, we were talking about before we jumped on the call, I've seen a lot of people who like are jumping ship from one brokerage to another, or just saying, I don't know how to deal with what's going on in the industry right now, so I'm just going to get out. And I really think that these are opportunities for us to build upon ourselves and find other ways to be innovative and, break out of the mold that we're in, and adapt.
Yeah. So what are some ways that you have found that you've actually broken out of the mold in your local market? And I know your business has already picked up a little bit, but let's share, because I have a few things too that I've decided to do this year. So yeah, what are you doing to adapt?
I really have stuck to some of the same things that other people have given up on. Like, I'm still doing pop buys in my neighborhood, and every time I do those, I have excellent conversations. And I have one thing I have changed is I cut back on I shifted my farming expenses for mail. I think direct mail is back. I know a lot of people have gave up on direct mail for a while, but if you have these dynamic QR codes, you can see people still are scanning those and wondering what their home value is. And they say direct mail is like you do it until you get a lead or they die, kind of. And so just kind of revisiting that has been great, and just seeing kind of some of the interactions that go with that. I'm also really focused on video. I just doubled down on video. It's cheap to do, and social media is free. And I'll do some videos that I'll have professionally edited that have a small cost. Some of them I'm just editing myself with CapCut. It depends on what I'm trying to do. But I think just trying to get ahead and be innovative with that has been helpful. And it's also, I've changed my marketing plan a little bit for my listings, which has really benefited my sellers, first of all. But it's also been a huge thing for my business. Just I get so many people that are like, I saw that last listing video that you did, and I have to have one for my house too. And it's such a cool feeling, just kind of getting out of the box with the video has been not just for marketing, but also for connecting with my sphere and connecting with people who have found me in another way and now have found me on the internet.
Tell me more about that. Like, I want to hear what kind of videos are you doing that are causing that reaction?
I have my photographer. He just has the little like gimbal thing on his and takes his phone, and he's really good at like doing the reels where he'll like go fast and then go slow and like highlight certain things. And it's just like a 30-second to 60-second reel on Instagram that highlights all of the great things about the property.
So
So
you're not even in those videos.
no, I'm not. Some people will get in those. I haven't yet. He charges more if I'm in it, so I haven't done it that
Oh.
way.
That's fun. Well, that's a doable thing. I mean, you could probably even do some of that yourself with a good iPhone. So, yeah. Okay. So I like it. So basically you're doubling down on like being intentional with your marketing across social media and other modalities. So we do celebrity agent, and that is direct mail, and it is actually paying off for me. So it's pretty fairly expensive. I think it's $12.50 a month, but that does include postage. And I've been sending it out to anybody that so the part that I like the best is for my buyers. So when I do a buyer consultation, part of the presentation is I'm going to send out direct mail to people that own a home that fit your criteria and in the neighborhoods that you want to live in. And just doing that alone, one, helps me win the buyer, but two, I'm going on at least 1 to 2 listing appointments a week right now. And I started it about a year ago. So that is one thing. And I think you could easily replicate what they do. Well, I say that. I mean, there's a lot of they vary it up with like certain like AI. It's very dynamic. But it's mostly just a letter that says, "Hey, I'm looking for a house. Here's my story. Would you call my realtor?" So it looks like it's coming from my buyer. It doesn't have their last name or anything, just like a general, letter, but it does feel very authentic. So I think you're right. Direct mail, at least for me, it's working in that way. So, Robyn, we were also talking about just mindset. And you mentioned like you had recently had a conversation with someone that was struggling with this buyer representation and being able to show, here's my value, here's why you should hire me. So, if somebody is kind of feeling like that right now, they're struggling with knowing their worth, what would be your advice?
I think I would start by just writing down everything that you do for a buyer and writing down what makes you different than other agents and just reviewing that list. And I think a lot of times we get in the hustle and bustle of just being busy and we don't step back and really look at that. And we all have our excellent listing presentations, right? Where we go out and we say, I can do this and this and this for you as your listing agent, but a lot of us have not taken the time to do that on the buy side. And I think there's just certain things like have your buyer's guide ready. Like the best way to get over a mindset problem is action. And I think we can sit and stew in our thoughts, but take some time, put your buyer's guide together, put your presentation together, just like you have for your listing presentation, and get in that action, talk to people, and just remember who you are.
Yeah. I mean, if you're not willing to hire yourself and you don't believe in yourself, then there's no way that somebody else is going to um be willing to hire you. Like you had to convince yourself first, right? I was just actually in a call with a marketing company that I'm working with, and they're taking me through their onboarding process. And she said, if you were a person, just like a normal homeowner, and you weren't an option, you weren't a realtor, who would you hire in your local market? So how would you answer that? I mean, you don't have to give the name, but do you have somebody in mind that you would hire?
There's a couple people that I do really respect in my market that I would definitely consider.
So what was a struggle for me, like there's a few people that I agree I like, but if I was just a consumer, I wouldn't know like the behind the scenes. So I rattled off, well, here's who I think I would choose just, based on how I'd perceive them as a client, which one of them is probably one of the harder people to work with, but she's like a bulldog. I think my perspective as a client would be she would really work for me. But she's like, okay, what does she do? And here's the thing. You said we should make a list of what we do that's different, but we don't really know what each other does, so that's tough. And I think right there could be something that you do that's different is you put out your list of services, like put it on your social media, put it on a landing page, put it on your website, put it on your stand store, wherever. Something that I kind of arrived at on my own with my marketing company is I'm going to start really branding myself as your real estate advisor. I want to help you with the largest purchase of your life, probably. And I want to make sure you maintain that equity throughout your ownership of it, And so I'm going to be your partner in this, and I'm going to make sure that we're monitoring the value annually. And so I think that's really going to be my niche now. I mean, anyone's welcome to use that as long as you're not in Independence, Kansas, but I'll be your real estate advisor. So, you know what I mean? That's an idea.
Yeah, I like that. I think it is that like you're separating your value in a way where these other people are just like, I'm your agent, but it's like, no, I'm here. I'm going to hold your hand from today forward.
Yeah. And I have, I used to be a financial advisor. So I think that's something else that everyone should think about is what is your background? What was your prior career? We all had lives before real estate, probably. Even me, I got licensed at 18 and I still did a few different things in my 20s. So, you like to be a coach, Robyn, so, and you're really focusing on the emotional aspect of it. How could that play into your services as a real estate agent,
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And my background before real estate is in accounting and corporate finance.
Oh,
And
perfect.
I have so much fun, like with my clients being like, wow, you have such good attention to detail. So yeah, do whatever you have that you did before that's different and brings you a unique perspective. I think that's so great. And not just what you did before, but your hobbies, like all the things that make you are all valuable things. And when you match with the right buyer, they care about those things.
Yeah, absolutely. So, how are you approaching this buyer conversation, signing a buyer agency? Is that something you did prior to this year?
I've always done buyer presentations, but I have not signed the agency agreements. And so that is a little bit of a shift. And I think we still don't have all the answers as to how this whole thing is going to pan out. But I'm just kind of, making sure I'm in Washington at the beginning of the year. They changed the law so that we did have to have a buyer agency agreement. So I have put in place putting those buyer agency agreements in for both Oregon and Washington, just so that I'm consistent between the two states, which is kind of inconvenient at the moment because it's one form for Washington and then another form for Oregon. So if
Yeah,
someone wants to look at both states, it's not very handy, but it
that's
is,
true.
I mean, it is just having that, like saying like, I'm also licensed in Washington. The bulk of my business is in Oregon though. So I'm also licensed in Washington, but I'm trying to be consistent. So it's been kind of a cheat way for me to present it as like, this is why I'm making people do this now. And honestly, nobody has really pushed back on that at
Yeah.
all. And it's been great. Like most people realize that you're doing hard work for them and understand that you should be compensated.
Yeah. And I think it really sets us up more as a professional and less as we are. I mean, everyone's going to have to do it soon, right? So it's going to even the playing field. And what I've been doing, I'm meeting with somebody tomorrow actually. And they had somebody else show them a property before they called me, or actually a couple different agents. And so then they decided to work with me and they said they wanted me to list their houses, how this all came about. So they said, you know what, we'd like to just use you for both sides. We really, appreciate your advice and strategy. And so I said, great, I'd love to work with you. Let's meet so we can go over this. Oh, well, and then they just started sending me houses. And I said, no, we cannot look until we sit down and meet and talk about, what it looks like to work with me. And, there are some fees involved. I want to explain all that in person. They're like, what do you mean? Like, they just showed us houses, So I called on the phone with them and I said, sounds like they weren't educating you, but this is what's changing and it's not happening until August, but I've already been implementing it in my business and I want to make sure we're on the same page. And they're like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. This is why we're going with you. We want that strategy. We want that professionalism. So anyway, I think we can use it, to our advantage the quicker you adapt.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I've for years now had my buyer book, and I do this fun little when somebody actually signs up with me. I have a little like welcome gift that then gets delivered with like what the next steps are and some candy, and it's an opportunity to be a professional and to just give some love to people that you're going to be in a close relationship with for a while.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you're coaching people. So what's the pulse of the real estate community right now?
I I think a lot of people that I talk to are like, as of today, nothing's changed. I'm hearing
Yeah.
that from a lot of people. And yes, I agree, but it's like we were just saying, it's like this is the time to be proactive about it.
Yeah.
So I'm hearing a lot of that. I am hearing some people who are scared. And I think we're seeing it in people moving from one brokerage to another, and a handful of people leaving the industry as well. So it's kind of across the board from people who are like, this isn't affecting me, all the way to people who are like, the sky is falling.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Go ahead.
I think coaching wise, like, it's just like meeting you where you're at and trying to help you understand why you're feeling the way you're feeling and what the future looks like too.
So I'm not sure when this episode will air, but the one I just recorded, we talked about, are you addicted to chaos? So because of your background in like all of this emotional study and psychology, and I thought you would be a fun one to ask on that. Like, why do you think some people move brokerages year after year or change careers every couple years or move, like there's so many different things we could talk about, even relationships even, but what makes someone addicted to chaos?
I think there's a piece of like, you haven't identified peace and happiness. And if you are always looking for something better, you'll never find it. The grass is not greener there's some truth to that. And like before we jumped on the recording, I was kind of sharing, like, I only know one person who's moved brokerages that has given me a real reason that had to do with their success in their career. Most people are just like, oh, I moved. Do you want to know more about it? Like, message me personally and on social media. And it's like, well, I don't really want to do that because you're just going to try to sell me on your new brokerage. So,
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that you said that because that's kind of what our consensus was. Stephanie and I had the conversation and we were talking about, at least for me, I admitted that I tend to be that person that's addicted to chaos. I love change, and I had to have a real like self-reflection about this probably 5 years ago when I was really trying to focus on building my team, and because I was throwing my team into chaos, just always trying to find something new, change the agreements, change the structure. And when I landed on Micro Team, it was like I think a sigh of relief almost for everyone because they're like, okay, we're not going to change. We know where we're going. We're settled. But the reason I was always looking for change or excited about change was because I felt like something wasn't working that I was already doing. And like you said, the looking for that peace, looking for that success, and not that you can't try new things, that's not really the point of this. I think that we need to be more self-reflective of like, why isn't it working? What we're doing? Is it because of us or is it because of the brokerage or the tools or the coach or, whatever, we're so quick to blame instead of taking personal responsibility. Because if you don't change, nothing's going to change at the next brokerage.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think it's when, one of the first things that I like people to do is do a time study and see where their time is going during their day. And a lot of times, like, they find out they have huge amounts of time that are just wasted. And it's like, well, what if you
Mm.
took that hour a day that you're surfing social media and instead post a video on social media, or, work on your marketing plan, or, so many other things like that you could be doing. But I think we just get in this habit of like, we get in the chaos, we don't know where our time goes, and we feel overwhelmed. And then it's like, it's too easy to ignore that.
I think also, you've probably seen like these TikTok videos about they're a narcissist, like everyone's a narcissist now. Like that's the diagnosis, it seems like. But I do think sometimes people like change all the time or like drama because they want the attention. I don't know. Just being self-reflective of like, what is this really bringing me? Is it bringing me the right attention? Because if my clients or my team, if they don't know what they can expect from me, they don't know if they can trust me. And it may not be the attention that I really want or need. I may think I'm getting attention, but is it really what I want,
Yeah.
So yeah, I just thought it would be a fun conversation with you. Get your 2 cents on this thought I'm having because I've seen quite a few people make some changes, brokerage wise, coaching wise, and I think that there's probably this level of desperation or panic because oh my gosh, things are changing. So what am I gonna do? Right?
Right. Right. And who is going to support me in that? And it's like, if you don't know who to ask for support today, you're probably not going to figure it out at a different brokerage either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, anyway, that kind of got off track, but let's bring it back around. So you've been with Mega Moms for quite a few years, and it's been a while since you've been part of the program, and you've shared your testimony so far. But if somebody was considering enrolling, they're a successful solo agent. We're always seeking successful solo agents that are ready to take their business to the next level. So we can show you how to build a team, avoid the headaches and problems that I made, and just let me show you my playbook. So Robyn, you went through that. What would you say to someone who's considering that purchase?
I think it was very worthwhile. It was a lot of work. I'm not going to like lie about
Yeah,
that and sugarcoat it.
definitely.
It was a lot of work to get everything put together, but I really feel confident now that I have the model there and I'm ready to hire the right person. And I think it's going to be later this year or next year. And I'm excited just that it's all in place and I don't have to worry about messing it up, because the last thing I want to do is like start somebody on something and then create chaos for them and like put them through like, oh, this isn't working out. How can we tweak it? It's like, no, the plan is all in place. All the SOPs are there. So there's no question how, like, this is how I do things. So
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Awesome. I love it. All right. So if they want to send you a referral, Robyn, you shared where you work, but or yeah, what area you work, how can they reach you if they want to reach you on social media?
On social media, on Instagram, I'm at Robyn S Realtor. And then Facebook, just Robyn Schamberger -EXP Realty.
Okay. At Robyn S Realtor. And it's Robyn with a Y.
That's right.
All right, Meg Moms, we will see you next week.